Man surrounded by bald eagles did what most would never dare. But before we start, please take a moment to give this video a like, subscribe to Happy World, and hit the bell so you'll never miss these great stories. Jessie Peck took the world by storm through one video. However, his act of bravery quickly turned into more than he could handle. Jessie encountered a flock of bald eagles one day. Whilst this is a beautiful blessing, there are also dangerous undertones of the scene. The bald eagle is not a meek and mild bird. It's one of the greatest birds of prey, something Jessie would soon discover. Jessie Peck is a fisherman. Owning a few boats, he was used to birds frequenting his deck from time to time. He often had tasty morsels of the day's catch lying around, but he'd never encountered more than a handful of eagles at a time. However, one day an entire flock began to ominously land on and surround one of his boats. Jessie was completely taken aback, and when the birds closed in, he did something unimaginable. Jessie had been a fisherman for years. As such, he'd grown accustomed to birds visiting his boat, but he'd never seen so many eagles in one location before. He'd easily counted about 20 birds perched across his boat. This was truly a sight to behold. Jessie was taken aback by how beautiful the creatures were. But this was not the first time man had appreciated the bald eagle. The first time led to the eagle becoming endangered. For many years, the bald eagle was hunted for sport. The majestic bird made for a great game trophy, and people were eager to get their hands on one. As such, hunting season included the eagle. So much so, the eagle's numbers began to decrease. However, that wasn't the only problem. The eagles were in danger for more reason than one, and the second cause would see them rocketing to the endangered species list. The late 1800s saw the first real decline in the bald eagle species. You see, even though they were the national bird, people viewed them as pests. Bald eagles were notorious farm raiders. Picking off chickens and other smaller livestock, farmers quickly began to dislike the bird. As such, the hunter quickly became the hunted. The eagles began to dwindle as farmers shot them down one by one. Things were looking dire for the eagle. The eradication of the bald eagle continued for years. It was only in the 1940s that Congress stepped up to protect the bird. In 1940, the Bald Eagle Protection Act was passed. This made it illegal to hunt and kill the bird. With that, the eagle began to thrive once more. But that was only momentarily. Something more sinister than farmers began to encroach on the eagle's way of life. So, technically, farmers were involved in the second cull of the eagle, but not directly. You see, in 1950, a pesticide known as DDT was released onto the market. This quickly became all the rage, spraying their crops in hopes of yielding a better harvest. But this had dire consequences on the eagle. DDT began to infect the eagle's diet. As such, the birds once more began to die off, until something incredible happened. Once again, a movement against the threat of the eagle was a drawn-out process. It was only in 1972 that a risky law was passed. The Environmental Protection Agency made a controversial call to ban the use of DDT within America. At the time, there were only a recorded 452 nesting pairs of bald eagles still in existence. However, the bird has struggled to repopulate since then, and Jessie Peck knew this. Walking towards his boat, Jessie was met with a staggering sight. An entire flock of bald eagles had descended upon his vessel. This took him back. As he approached the birds, they didn't seem to budge. They were totally unperturbed by his presence. Tentatively, Jessie gathered up a bucket of scraps for feeding. Slowly, the birds drew closer. This gave Jessie a fake lull of confidence. But then he decided to do something unthinkable. Suddenly, the birds became enthralled in Jessie. They realized he had what they were after. It didn't take long for them to flock to the deck for their share of the scraps. Jessie realized he'd entered into a feeding frenzy. However, he wasn't bothered by it. Amazingly, he seemed to be calm, confident even. But then his confidence became risky. Jessie took his life into his own hands through one action. Jessie fell into a false sense of calm. He believed the birds truly meant him no harm. However, this led him to become cocky. In one moment of misjudgment, Jessie did something wild. He held out a piece of fish in his hand toward an eagle. Whilst eagles have not been known to attack people, they are wild animals. One snap of the beak could easily tear through flesh. but Jessie decided to tempt fate. Unbelievably, the eagles refused to react to Jessie. Even though he'd held what they wanted in the palm of his hand, they didn't budge. It would appear that their trust in humankind had been solidified through years of mistreatment. This took Jessie back, so he continued to merely throw the scraps to the birds. However, he'd done something that would change things considerably. Remarkably, Jessie had filmed the entire event. One of his co-workers had luckily been present with a camera, and Jessie composed a video montage dedicated to the remarkable experience. However, when he posted this to YouTube, he didn't expect the response it received. To date, the video has amassed millions of views. This just goes to show how many people respect and appreciate what he'd done. But the video did more than entertain. Jessie's video managed to inspire people. He shed light on a majesty of the bald eagle and showed how even one man can make a difference to the bird's survival. The comments left below his video were incredible. The Weather Channel even requested permission to share the video on their various social media platforms. All in all, the video inspired thousands of watchers. But what did it all mean for Jessie? Jessie continues to roam the oceans, and he plans on continuing to feed and bond with the eagles. The experience was truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, one many would sacrifice to experience. But Jessie was lucky enough to enjoy the wonder of the eagles. For him, it was all in a day's work, just another day on an Alaskan fishing boat. But for the world, it was a moving, humbling gesture.